Welcome to Two Crime Besties, everyone, for another episode. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, everyone. I can't believe we've even managed to get here today, to be perfectly honest. I think we've discussed this morning how just insane everything is at the moment. So I think the fact that we are both sitting here ready to go as much as we can be, I think, for this episode, is a real well done to both of us.
I agree. It's been a really tough slog. I feel like this last couple of weeks has just been like trudging through mud and so much has been going on. We've had busy school things happening. We've had busy out of school things happening.
Yeah.
And I was just saying to you before we started recording, I feel like most years we start to get into the routine and I really thrive in that.
Yeah, I hang for it. Like, you know, we were talking about how, you know, you're really looking forward to getting back into routine.
Yeah, but I feel like at the minute I'm just not there.
No.
It's actually stressing me out. I don't know, there's just so much going on and it's not all fitting in and it's just a lot.
And as I said to you, we're not alone because I was talking to multiple people. We're at a function at school last night and every person I spoke to, I have to say, every female I spoke to said to me the exact same thing. Oh, I'm just feeling so overwhelmed. Like there's so much stuff on at the moment. And everyone, and they were telling me about like, you know, someone was moving house, you know.
Like that's the worst.
Oh, absolutely. But like everyone had like different things that were overwhelming them. But so we're not all saying that, oh, you know, X, Y, Z, the exact same things that were too much for the beginning of the year. Everyone had their own different things on their plate that were
overwhelming and too much.
Yeah.
To top it off, my eldest broke his finger yesterday. So, you know, we spent the day in ED. Well, not the day, actually. It was amazing. They were great. And we were in and out pretty quickly. But, you know, it's just, I feel like that's just been the straw this week that broke my back. So,
absolutely.
You don't want to see your kids hurt,
like at all.
That's it.
And the fact that he's, you know, this is not the first time in recent memory.
He's had a really rough trot the last 12 months. He's had a few broken bones and knee things happening and anyway, but we'll get through it. It's just in the moment, it's a lot to take on. And I feel for him too because he's, you know, realising that he's going to miss out on some sport, which is really, really important to him. And so it's sort of managing all those emotions and everything as well.
Absolutely.
From both of us, not just him, but me too.
Yes. Well, because you need him to have those outlets too because he's got to move to be able to, you know, have calmer moments. And
exactly.
when that, you know, limits that. I mean, with a finger, it's not as bad as a leg situation.
True.
But at the same time, he's still not going to be playing the competitive sports that he would otherwise be doing.
That's
so,
it.
it's a lot.
It is. But as I said, we will get there.
Yes.
It'll all be okay. So just before we jumped on to record this episode, I was like, and we normally just have a bit of a chat about what we're going to talk about and sort of lead into the episode with. And you said in our last episode, we said that we were going to do some quizzes about our love languages. I clearly forgot to do that. So I just quickly did one before we pressed record. Well, first of all, it said it was free.
Yeah.
And then it turned out not to be free. But I was saying to you, what was one of the questions it asked me? It was like, would you prefer?
Yeah. Would you prefer someone bought you a drink or touched your face lovingly?
I was like, oh my God, buy me a drink. Do not touch my face. As if, mate, oh my God, who wants them to be? Who wants someone like their person to like touch their face? Gross. So no thanks. Buy me a drink any day.
Yeah. Oh God, who's choosing that over buying you a drink?
Oh, you know what? I'd like to see that kind of person. I don't think that person exists.
No. Well, if they do, they're strange.
That's weird. That's super weird.
But I love the one you quickly just jumped on though. It was like, you know, oh my God, yes, take the bins out without being have to ask you.
Yeah, that is my love language. Like, yeah, do things without me having to ask.
Oh.
Look for things and identify things that need doing and do them. So I think
removing that mental load.
That's it. I think my love language is acts of service, which I think I alluded to in that episode anyway.
Yeah, mine came. I did two. Like, I did actually more than two because I found out some of them cost money. You get through it. There's freaking shitloads of questions they ask. You do the full thing and then you get to the end and it goes, now to get your answers, we'll email it to you when you pay $30.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
So I did do quite a few of them.
Okay.
But two of them that I did do that were free came out with acts of service. So
there you go.
Yeah. That's do shit for me, like without me having to tell you.
Exactly. Identify need and fulfill that need.
Yes. Because I think, as we were just saying before, the overwhelm at the moment isn't crazy. It's that we need mental load taken off of us.
That'd be lovely.
That will get me to return the favour in ways.
That's it. Exactly. Absolutely. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Come on. That's it.
I know the other one was I sit on my knee. Fuck off.
That was one of the. Would you rather your partner sat on your knee or talk to you about their feelings? And I was like, well, not sit on my knee.
Like I'm an adult. Like,
yeah. And I don't know, maybe. Oh no. If Peter ever sat on my knee, I'd be like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But that's not romantic. Coming sitting.
No,
on
that's
your
not
knee.
romantic. That's just weird and needy or something. I don't know. Nah, not into it.
Oh God, I love it.
Anyway, we are doing a massive case today, aren't we?
It's huge. And so we've decided to split it into two for that exact reason, for I think our own compartmentalizing of the case, but also so like we can get it all in because it's just too much.
There's so much. So we're talking about the Snowtown bodies in the barrels murders today, and next week. When I was researching this, I was like, oh my God, there is so much. And we've had a huge interest in this case as well. So we've had quite a number of people ask for it and want us to cover it. So that's why we kind of are doing it now. But did you find this one really tough to research?
Real tough. I think I said to you, there was particularly the movie, there's a movie of it that I watched that I was like, I had to actually pause, walk away at times. But not only that, during it, I was like, oh no, I actually can't watch that.
I watched the movie. So the Snowtown movie was made in 2011. It is like critically acclaimed. It is a brilliant movie. I watched it in 4 sittings and I found myself getting so uncomfortable. I'm one of those people, like when I watch TV or watch a movie or do anything, I really try not to have my phone in my hand or, if I'm watching TV, I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
And especially when I'm doing research as well, because obviously you want to concentrate. But I actually found myself like getting my phone and like not wanting to see what was on the screen. So I'd be like trying to, distract myself.
Yeah, I was exactly the same.
It is so confronting. And they say that the movie is really quite accurate to true life events.
And I have to agree, it is in terms of the fact the research I've done.
Same.
That what I was cringing at in the movie was then I went and read it somewhere as well, like, in transcripts, etc. That I was like, oh, whoa. Like, and the movie was actually the catalyst for, there was a whole lot of this case that was repressed and put under orders of not being able to be released. And it was when the movie, they were wanting to make the movie, they put an application to the courts to release that information so that they could make the movie and make some of this information public.
Yeah, so names and places were...
But also the intricate details of the murders and those sorts of things. So they have used factual information, obviously, within the movie. So it's pretty hardcore.
It's really hardcore. Yeah, so the movie was released in 2011 and these crimes were committed between August 1992 and May of 1999. So I guess, 12 odd years or whatever 20 plus years had gone by.
Yeah.
And no, 10 plus years. Oh, my maths is not great.
No.
Had gone by, but still it was such a sensitive time for the people of South Australia, because I read somewhere it was an editorial, I think might have been in the South Australian newspaper, where they basically said this is burnt into the minds and the experiences of the South Australian people of the time. And while a lot of it was suppressed in the media, it was still, a lot of it was known, or even a lot of the details were sort of, although they weren't reported through newspapers, people sort of knew about the story and knew what was going on, or knew someone who knew someone who... Well,
this is the thing. There was over 400 people who'd been called as witnesses in the trial. So, I mean, Adelaide's not the biggest, state of our country that, yes, word would definitely travel of, someone who knows someone would spread that word of what went on, of what each person saw. It's
and look,
pretty,
I think looking back at what was released in the media in 1999 when this all came to the fore, there was enough reported back then as well. Like I was
to know that it was bad.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
And I was watching I think it was like the 7 or 9 news coverage of the day they found the bodies in the barrels.
Oh, yeah.
And even the stuff that they were reporting that day about what the police officers saw, that was confronting enough.
Yes. I mean,
and you can draw your own conclusions from even just that side of the story.
There is police officers, forensic pathologists, all these people who went into this scene and who to this day have PTSD from that particular day, you know. So it's traumatized so many people.
I think it's probably worth getting into it now because I think so. What we're going to do, the way we're going to split this up, we're going to actually start with the perpetrators and their backgrounds and sort of build up to the point where they start the killing spree.
Yeah.
And then next week, tune back in and we'll actually be going into quite a lot of detail about the murders.
Well, we should say, I mean, the murders are horrific, but the perpetrators' lives prior to, you know, perpetrating these crimes were horrific.
Yeah.
There's been that many crimes committed against people in this that it is an absolute shit show.
Yeah, look, I fully agree, and that's why we thought we'd go about it by doing this way. Before we get started, though, I think we need to sort of say a few things.
Yeah.
So first of all, we're going to be discussing some really horrific things in these next 2 episodes.
Yes.
We are also going to be discussing crimes against the LGBTQIA plus community. Mm-hmm. We will be using language that was used by the perpetrators of these crimes, and this in no way reflects our feelings or thoughts towards people in the LGBTQIA plus community. We absolutely do not feel that way. We are literally telling factual information about this story. So,
and we're here to learn too, in terms of, we hope we're using the correct language when it is us discussing it from our opinions, etc. And if we're not, please inform us.
Absolutely.
I'm here to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. And we also, obviously, we want to be really sensitive to that.
Yeah.
In not just in these episodes, but in any potential episodes going forward. So,
we'll
always open to that.
Yeah, so we'll also be discussing suicide ideation as well. So if anyone's feeling a little bit sensitive, please, you know, seek help as well. Call Lifeline 131114. And lots of help out there.
Yeah.
But if this episode is not for you, flick on to this one and the next one. Skip over, because there's some whole lot of sexual assault as well against young children. Everything is in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get started. I feel like we're putting it off.
I know.
But I'm also really happy to start to rid this of my brain.
Oh, same. Yeah. Because I have to say, it really has been a hard slog to research for that reason. Like, as we said about the movie, but reading what I've read. Oh, yep.
Yeah,
It's a lot. Yep.
All right. So the Snowtown bodies in the barrels murders, as they have come to be known.
Yeah. I have to say, the town of Snowtown prefer this to be called as the bodies in the barrels, because we should say Snowtown is where the bodies were found. Only one murder took place there. Everything else took place in other parts of Adelaide. So
that's it.
Snowtown's well known for this, when it's really not that major part of the scene.
Only the end,
at
really.
The end of it.
And it was really only at the very end.
Yeah.
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 So Snowtown is actually located halfway between Port Augusta and Adelaide. So it's about 100, is it about 100 kilometres north
140 kilometres north of Adelaide. Yeah.
So most of the crimes that we'll be talking about take place in Adelaide and sort of in the surrounding suburbs of Adelaide. So just sort of maybe keep that in mind. The killing spree took place, as I mentioned, between August of 1992 and May of 1999. And over that time, there were 12 victims. As we said, we'll get to all of that in next week's episode, but it's just something to keep in mind that, you know, in that 7 years, there were 12 murders perpetrated against some innocent people in the end.
Yep.
Some not so, but some
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah. We'll get to.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So who were the perpetrators of this crime?
Yes.
We had John Justin Bunting, who was the ringleader. Really. And this was acknowledged by the courts at the end once this all came about as well, that he was the ringleader and he was the main perpetrator of all of these crimes. His offsider, Robert Joe Wagner. We had James. Now, how do you say his middle name?
Oh, the middle name, I look at it and go,
Spiridon?
Spiridon? I think the middle name, though, is that his actual father's surname?
I don't know,
I'm getting
actually.
confused already.
No, I don't.
Vlasakis was his, no, it's all right. It's
Yeah,
cool.
because I think Vlasakis was his dad's surname.
His dad's first name could have been something along the lines of...
Maybe, but anyway, it's spelled Spyridon.
Yeah.
So, however you pronounce that, apologies.
It's James Vlasakis.
Yeah, James Vlasakis. In fact, that was the only time I wrote down his middle name was here. He's off. This is like that whole thing with bad people that always have to go with their middle names. Like, what the hell? Then we've got Mark Hayden.
Yep.
Who, look, he was in the end charged as an accessory and not actually of committing any of the murders. But again, we'll get to all of this as it goes through. Start with John Bunting.
Oh, should we add Elizabeth Harvey to that list?
Oh, yes, and Elizabeth Harvey.
Yep. So she was Bunting's partner in the end.
Yeah.
I should say too, like those who we've named there are the main culprits of all this. There are many other within the circle, many people that we could name here, but we won't because it will get confusing because there are so many. But we're going to focus on them as being the main culprits, which is agreed amongst circles of this. But there is definitely more people involved in this than just those people.
There's also a lot of people involved in that they knew things and didn't do anything about it. So you could cast the net really wide.
That's exactly right. That's what I mean. There's many people that you could attach to all of this as well, but these are the main runners, the stayers within most of all the incidents. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start with John Bunting.
Yeah.
Because,
even before we start with John Bunting, let's set the scene of where we are. So in terms of where they were living in this town of Salisbury North, the way it was described, in 1997 there was a report done by the State Housing Trust that actually in this document labelled Salisbury North an urban crime ghetto.
Oh.
So, they were living in this space where it was basically commission housing, as far as the eye could see. So this town and space that they were living in was the unemployment rate was 36%. Basically, it was not a nice place to be. Everyone that was living there was there because they were ex-criminals or current criminals. They permanently had alcohol attached to their hand, if not hard drugs. That's the community that they lived in.
It was a very, very low socioeconomic area. And as you said, it was all government housing, so government-supported housing.
And the government have acknowledged since this that setting up commission housing like that in terms of putting it all in one space is not the ideal way of doing that because, yes, people need support and housing for various reasons, but to put them all in together is not ideal. It creates an environment that it's not safe. To put these commission housings within other spaces and in other communities where those supports can be put in place far better and with other things around them is a far better idea than having these ghettos is what it created.
Yeah, it definitely created a very interesting melting pot of people. So let's start with John Bunting. So John Justin Bunting was born on the 4th of September in 1966 in Queensland, in Inala. The suburb that he grew up in sounds very much like Salisbury North, where he ended up.
Yeah.
So Inala was a very impoverished town. Again, a lot of government housing. And so John was raised in that environment.
Yeah.
And look, he was born to a mother who was very conservative. She was a homemaker. And so, she was around, but I've heard she was quite emotionally void.
Yeah.
And so he's grown up in a house where, okay, yes, his mum's home all the time, but she wasn't necessarily nurturing and supporting her children.
I heard his dad was quite actively involved.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think so.
Well, didn't he build him like a space for him to do his photography and stuff at home?
He did. So his dad's name was Tom Bunting. He was a bit of a no-hoper, actually.
Right.
I think he saw himself as a bit of an aspiring musician, and he worked at a sawmill and sawed his finger off. Ooh. And then couldn't play. He was like a finger picker, guitarist, and so then he couldn't do that, and then that sort of spiraled him into like a bit of a depression, I think.
Yeah.
The house was described as not very loving. There was a lot of physical abuse between not only John Bunting and his father perpetrating that on John, but also on the mother. So he's grown up in a really volatile household. John Bunting reports being assaulted and raped by a friend's older brother. His friend was also a victim in this situation, and the way he describes this event is that he was over at his friend's house, his older brother was there, and they tied him to a bed. So then the older brother had some friends there. They tied him to a bed and sodomized him repeatedly. It's just horrific.
Yeah.
The friends joined in, so this was like a group attack.
Yeah.
And the incident was actually interrupted by the boy's father. And the boy's father basically said, "Oh, get off him," but didn't call the police, didn't do anything about it. No. Just said to John Bunting, "Oh, you might want to go to the doctor on your way home and get yourself checked out." Oh, God. So with that, the son who was the perpetrator of this crime, when he got caught out, he jumped on his bike and fled. John Bunting was walking home. The boy on the bike got hit by a truck and killed, like literally half an hour after sodomizing Bunting.
Yeah.
And John Bunting decided to just walk home. Now, apparently he was bleeding, like from the rape. He got home and he had all these cuts and stuff on his face because he'd been trying to, I don't know, defend himself, I guess.
Yeah.
Gets home and his mum was just really angry at him for being late for dinner.
Oh, can you imagine being 8 and that being
8 years old
and it being so like, so that happened.
Yep.
Like just, oh God. I mean, in later years, and this is the thing where we go by Bunting's story of this occurring. Like there's no evidence as such, like in terms of it occurring.
I tried to find like the friend who, because his friend was also raped by his brother and the friends of the brother, but I couldn't actually find anything about him.
No. So it is Bunting's word, and I'm not saying that it's not factual, because it's quite a story really in terms of the fact that that day he gets hit by a truck and he's killed. But in later years, Bunting talks about the fact of like, I didn't need to hunt him down and kill him because he was already dead. Like so he was like, yep, that's
he
what
got
happens.
what was coming. Yep.
Yeah, which is, I mean, really fucked up.
Yep.
But I mean, his upbringing is really, has brought that to him. Like it's just, can't even imagine. No.
Bunting did a few really weird things as a kid. And I think that's, again, we're building to something here, aren't we?
The escalations.
It is.
Yep.
Like he was obsessed with chemicals.
Yeah.
And he was obsessed with digging holes.
Yes.
And
built
so this
full tunnels under his house.
Yeah. So apparently he like screwed up the foundations to the house because he dug so far under that he'd actually taken away the earth that the foundations were sitting on. Yeah. Like the bedrock. Yes. Essentially.
Like he was putting all like, boarding it all in and stuff and, supporting the tunnel.
Yeah.
But didn't think about the house above the...
Yeah. Yeah. This is just, I'm just going to mention this here. This is the first time that it made me, this case made me think of The Castle, the movie. Oh. I dug a hole. We'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit later. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. This comes up more than once. But yeah, he loved digging holes. And in terms of like, he had an obsession with chemicals as well. And he would find different chemicals around the house. And I think because you've said before, his dad was kind of a little bit handy and did a few bits and pieces building and other things like that. And he had, various chemicals lying around the house. And he would get insects and try to kill the insects in different concoctions of chemicals and see what happened. And
he would put them in acid.
Yes, and see what would happen.
See what would happen. Yeah. Yeah. But he was really heavily into photography, which is what then led to the chemicals. Like, he basically, through the act of doing the photography and developing those pictures, because, back before we had digital photos, to like develop those images, it's a very chemical-based process. And so through that became very interested in the chemicals. But he was also very interested then in anatomy. And he was not a dill by any means.
No.
Quite an intelligent person in that respect, far above probably most people in living around him.
Yep.
But obviously school and things weren't priority. Yeah, it's probably fair to say.
I think that's very, very fair to say.
Yeah, but he also then, like, it escalated in terms of then his interest in animals, in terms of how, like, as you're saying, they're with insects, and then it gravitated towards at the age of 22 when he got a job at an abattoir.
Yes.
This became a real strong influence on him of, like, he would brag about slaughtering the animals. And he wasn't actually when he first started there, that wasn't his role. He worked in an abattoir. He wasn't the one killing the animals. He did move to that section out of showing the strong interest in having a go.
Which, I mean, that's bloody weird in and of itself.
Absolutely.
Just quickly going back, when he was 13, he met... No, that's fine. I mean, this kind of all ties into it. But when he was 13, he met this older guy, Benny. So thinking of the situation that he was living in, low socioeconomic area, lots of people like around all day, every day. And he meets this older bloke named Benny. Now, Benny had a very troubled upbringing in and of himself. He had his own issues going on. But they really struck up a friendship. I think there was something like 20 years difference in them or something like that. It was a significant difference. Benny was an adult.
Yeah.
So Bunting claims that Benny taught him how to kill. And that was what they decided to do. And it was killing animals at this point. But, I mean, Bunting's 13 years of age and he's got this adult bloke teaching him how to kill animals. That then
to begin with, an adult being a friend of a 13-year-old
exactly
sounds
is weird.
And then the fact of what they're actually doing together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That then sparked his interest in applying for this job at the abattoir, as you said. And because he'd had this, or what Bunting describes as this experience already having killed animals, that's how he then got to move to the kill floor. And he was like cutting the animals up once they'd been slaughtered and really
he enjoyed
relishing in it.
Yeah. Like people very often spoke about the fact that, just in, having a beer at the pub kind of situation, he'd be like, his conversation wasn't like, I had a hard day at work. Oh, yeah, wanted to tell you all about, like, he was excited over it. It was quite bizarre. Yeah.
Weird. Yeah. Really, really weird.
Yeah.
In his early 20s, he met a woman by the name of Veronica. Mm-hmm. Now, Veronica was uneducated. They met in a metal working class, or they were learning to weld, I think, because they had to, in order to receive benefits, they had to either be working towards a trade or trying to find a vocation. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that's how they met.
Yep.
She was illiterate. She was blind in one eye and partially blind in the other. And she was partially deaf.
And she was going to do welding?
Well, I guess if...
Sorry, what?
Maybe she'd exhausted all other options in terms of so she could get her welfare. I don't know.
Oh, God.
I don't know what her motivation was.
No.
But they met and married pretty bloody quickly. She had described Bunting as charismatic. She's literally quoted as saying he was really charismatic. He engaged her immediately. Now, what was his motivation behind engaging in a relationship with a woman who had an intellectual disability, who was mostly deaf? The motivation there, given what we know, he had above average intelligence.
Well,
what's going on there?
On that line of that charismatic, I mean, there is I did read a reference that an employer wrote for him to look for another job. And it said like he's hardworking, shows initiative, like he gets the job done really. And they really pushed how much of a great bloke he was. Mm-hmm. So it gives you that whole idea. Like, he wasn't your typical in terms of the area in that respect. He
also wasn't a drug taker at that point. So he was not into drugs at all, whereas I could imagine like a lot of other people in that situation.
Yeah.
Drugs were just part of their everyday life, and they were in that environment. It would have been very easy for him to also engage in those behaviours, but he was adamantly... He was 100% not a drug taker.
No.
He's also been described as manipulative, persuasive. And I was listening to a podcast about him, and a woman had described him. Apparently he dickmatized people.
So what? That's not a word I've ever heard before.
No, it's like it's a hybrid word.
Yeah.
It's like he hypnotized them with his dick.
Oh.
So I think he thought he was a bit of a Casanova and a bit of a...
I mean, you look at him and he's...
gross.
I mean...
He's little.
He's very quite short. And I thought somewhere where I read that it was described as he got tubbier each year. Like,
I mean, by the time you see the photos of him when he's arrested, he's tubby and he's not attractive at all.
No, but women did fall for him very quickly. And I mean, look... very low socioeconomic area, the women that he was attracting and who became enamoured with him were of low intelligence. And I don't mean that derogatorily. I just mean that he did sort of target people he could manipulate, I think, easier.
And I think that was the motivation by him marrying Veronica, because he was able to control her. She did
and then the welfare payments that she would bring in.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
And because she had a permanent disability, she actually didn't have to work for a welfare payments.
No.
And so that definitely helped.
Yeah, because he certainly wasn't really interested in monogamy.
I don't think he was ever monogamous.
No. But he wasn't like also someone who I think openly was like, I need more women, bring more women. Like they just sort of came to him a little bit.
Yeah, apparently someone described him, I can't remember who it was who described him in this way, but they said he was almost irresistible to a certain type of woman.
And the more I read about him, and we'll get further into why these words were used to describe him, that I feel these words describe him as that he was cult-like leader.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he absolutely
that charismatic cult leader is who he was. He could attract people who wanted to be around him.
And people wanted to do what he said too. So if he told you that you're going to be his girlfriend, then you're going to be his girlfriend, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, around this same time, around Veronica sort of thing, he started getting into quite a bit of like this of Nazi sort of rhetoric.
Ideation.
Yeah. But to the point where he tried to join quite a few groups of some Nazi groups who told him, no, they kicked him out because his ideas were too extreme.
And these are people who are Nazi sympathisers.
Well, he was
and they
too
thought
extreme
he was too
for
extreme.
them.
Yeah. I mean, this gives you a really good idea of just the type of person he is. I think it's one thing to sort of read about the things that he's done and they are like, you can't even imagine it. But the fact that people who you would think are possibly like similarly minded, if they find him too extreme, that's saying something.
Yeah. Well, because I get, okay. So this guy's had this horrific childhood, been sexually assaulted, awful. And I can imagine being so angry about that happening to you of like, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. And there's a level of that I can completely sympathise with. But then he takes it to so extreme levels of like there's so many people around him that have also experienced these situations and been assaulted themselves or their children being assaulted. And it's like, so they're all like, yes, like we need to do something about this. And that I can understand. I can fully get on board with a group of people all feeling the same anger around these things of going on. It's just then how he then goes about doing that, obviously, and then the fact that became misplaced, but also then it shifted from that being his motivation.
Well, he used it as an excuse for his motivation, although at the end of the day that wasn't true.
Yeah,
we'll get into that. But there's so much in that.
Yeah.
So he's obviously then moved from Queensland before, all this, and he's moved to Salisbury North in South Australia. Do you know why he moved?
No.
No, I couldn't find why he moved either.
No.
So I'm not sure what the motivation was
was.
to move from Queensland down to South Australia, but he ended up where he ended up.
Yep.
All right.
For these poor people around him.
Poor people. I don't think it would have mattered where he was, but
No,
it just happened to be that
absolutely.
he was in South Australia.
I completely agree. I think this would have occurred with him being the central point. No matter where he was, he would find that kind of area.
Yeah.
He'd find these people, these like-minded people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So his main offsider was Robert Wagner.
Yeah.
He was born on the 28th of November in 1971 in Parramatta. So he was born in New South Wales. He's 5 years younger than Bunting and really looked up to Bunting.
Although Bunting had to look up to him because he was so much taller than him.
Good point. They met in 1991 in Salisbury North. Similarly, Robert Wagner, I'm not sure the motivation of why he moved, but he moved from New South Wales to South Australia.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No, because, hang on, so he must have done that quite young? Or when did he move there? Did he move to Salisbury North with Barry Lane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it would have been with him. So because when he was a child.
So he was 18 when he moved there.
Yeah. So when he was 14, Wagner was pulled under the wing of a man or woman by the name of. Sorry, I'm going to stuff that up. She identified as female by that stage?
No. I believe at the point. So when you read any reference to this, at that time point, she is referred to as Barry Lane.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Barry Lane sort of took Wagner under his wing. Barry Lane was he was known to be trans, and he would dress female, and he also, presented as gay, but he spent a lot of time with Wagner as a child, who Wagner had already been sexually assaulted when he was 7.
Yeah.
He couldn't read or write. No. He'd already tried to take his own life using his mum's sleeping pills.
Yeah, so he was only 7 years of age. So he'd endured a sexual assault. He then tried to kill himself.
Yep.
His parents didn't give enough of a shit about him to even care whether he went to school or not.
No, he just roamed the streets.
He just literally at the age of 7. Yep. Oh my God, like we've got 7 and 8 year olds. Like, can you even imagine?
No way in hell.
But I mean, obviously, I just can't imagine I can't imagine it.
No. So because his mum was attempting suicide as well.
Yeah.
The same. I mean, so I think what he did was what his mum had done and tried to do things that way.
Yeah.
He'd been witnessing those things.
Do you know if his parents knew about the sexual assault, or did they just not care?
I don't think they really cared. I don't know. I couldn't be. My take of that was that there was no interest in him as that point. No. They did show interest slightly when he disappeared. Because he was roaming the streets and met up with this Barry Lane.
Now, when he met Barry Lane, he was 14 years of age.
Yeah.
Barry was 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just fucking what?
And it was pretty much, well, I think it was just known that they were in a sexual relationship at that point.
Yeah.
Which just...
So at this point, Barry Lane is cross-dressing. So he's he's starting to take female hormones.
Yeah.
So he's starting the transition. He's a known pedophile. And so apparently Robert was quite big for his age. So he was actually quite tall. I mean, we know he's ended up being a tall man.
Yeah.
But people thought he was much older than what he was. Barry Lane knew for sure how old he was. And was clearly exploiting that.
Yeah.
Apparently, when he disappeared, so Robert has gone missing at the age of 14 under the wing of Barry Lane. Yeah. And his mum did care.
Yeah,
at that
she
point.
did look for, and report him missing.
Yeah.
She did do the right things, but nobody found them, but the two of them were gone. They were gone for 4 years.
Yeah. And apparently I read somewhere that the authorities said to Robert's mum, to Wagner's mum, well, he's almost of age, so he'll be fine. It'll be right.
And then when they returned, they were just an openly gay couple.
Yep.
like, so he's now 18, I guess, so he is legal age now at this point. And so, yeah, they were just an openly gay couple. But it was very clear it was a very volatile relationship between the two of them. There was definitely violence. There was definitely also bestiality occurring.
Oh, my God.
They had multiple dogs that in the home that they were living in. This was just common fact.
Yeah,
information.
They moved into a house down the street from Bunting at this point, and they owned a Doberman and an Alsatian. The house was apparently absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
There was like animal excrement in the house.
Mm-hmm.
There was like rotting food. There were rats. It was just uninhabitable, really.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they lived in that
Filth.
environment,
Yep.
in that absolute filth. Apparently Barry Lane he preferred the Doberman and would penetrate the Doberman.
Revolting. Oh my God. Anyway.
They befriended Bunting because like attracts like.
Well, also though, Wagner wasn't gay.
No. Well, Wagner didn't know, I think. As in, he has gotten caught up in this relationship with Barry Lane because he was vulnerable. He was fucking 14 years of age when this all came about. He was basically like brainwashed into this relationship. And you know what? He was probably looking for some kind of connection that he'd never had with his mum and dad. He'd never felt like he belonged anywhere. And Barry Lane obviously made him feel something that he'd never felt before.
I just think he was
desperate?
Kidnapped.
Well, he was absolutely kidnapped.
Absolutely, like, he was probably, what do you call it when you look for your the kidnapper as a friend almost? Like, what's that called?
Bloody hell. Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, 100% Stockholm syndrome. Like,
yep.
Yeah, no, he thought that Barry Lane was someone who was, in that mode of like a parent figure, but he was having a sexual relationship with. And I mean, that would fuck someone up.
Oh, no end.
No end, and clearly did.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
I find it really bizarre that Bunting sort of befriended them, though, because Bunting hated gay people, hated homosexuals, hated pedophiles, and Barry Lane was a fucking pedophile. He was fucking a 14-year-old.
Where Wagner and Bunting sort of got on this page of, like, this Barry Lane has done this to you. You're, like that you've been sexually assaulted. You're not gay.
So it's widely known though that at this point, Bunting has accepted Barry Lane just for who he is.
Oh yeah,
at that point,
but I think he says that he brought him in because Barry Lane knew who all the other pedophiles were.
Yeah,
and could give him that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was kind of informing on all the other pedophiles and homosexuals in the area.
Yeah.
Who Bunting wanted to get.
Yeah. And so, and the way like sort of Bunting really infiltrated Len Wagner was that, and I find this so like fucked up. So Bunting would have Wagner come over to help him learn how to read and write.
Yeah.
And he would do like lessons with him. And I mean, can you imagine like this person like who's led this kind of life with Barry Lane, then all of a sudden having this friend who wants to teach you and be, and
Bunting was that.
Yeah.
He was charismatic. Mm-hmm. He was engaging. He really manipulated people in the way that spoke to them the most. And Wagner was craving that.
Oh, because while he's teaching him to read and write, which is something, like a life skill that he'd never been taught before and needed in life to make any, move in life in general to, move away from Barry Lane.
Yeah.
While he's doing this, Bunting is indoctrinating him in this, spouting all these things around, pedophiles and gays that Barry Lane couldn't separate the two. If you were gay, you were a pedophile in his mind.
And we by no means link the two.
He called females that pedophiles, he called them tooth fairies. Mm-hmm. He had these very warped ideas around what being gay was, and immediately just that you were a pedophile. Yep. So he hated pedophiles, gays, and drugs. There were his three things that were absolute, god-awful things, and you couldn't be either one of those. Yep. A drug addict, a pedophile, or gay.
Couldn't be worse.
No.
Couldn't be worse humans.
Yeah.
So at this point, Bunting is using Lane's knowledge of local people to identify the pedophiles in the area. And they created what they called the wall of
spider
rock
wall.
spiders.
Yeah, the spider wall.
And this was it literally looked like one of those like FBI walls, and it's got like pictures of people and their names and addresses, and they've got strings attached to like see who's perpetrated on whom and who's connected to who.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, that shows a level of organisation and intelligence on his behalf to be able to do that. But then he was, for the people he had phone numbers for, Bunting would then call them, abuse them over the phone, threaten them. For the people that he had addresses for, he'd drive by and he'd like throw rotting meat at their houses. He'd actually spray paint and like tag their homes with like pedophile or other just other things, other awful things. He'd like spray paint their homes with that.
Yeah.
And so he really, I guess, used Lane's knowledge in that respect. Craziness.
Oh, God. Just terrible.
Yeah, horrific.
Yep.
The next, are we up to Mark Hayden now, do you reckon?
Yeah, we'll jump to him. Yep.
Yeah. So Mark Hayden was born on the 4th of December in 1958. He also met Bunting at a metalworking/welding course. So I don't think it was the same one that he'd done when he met his wife.
No.
I think it was at a different time.
Yep.
So, I mean, how many metalworking and welding courses can one man do? But anyway, here we go.
Really great way to, find your little cult followers.
Yeah, so, and that's exactly what he found in Hayden, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hayden developed an absolute admiration for Bunting, thought the light shone out of him and couldn't believe he'd met somebody so amazing and so just like with his head screwed on, and like he was just like everything he said, he was so right. He was on the money about everything. And, and he really drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh, big time. Yep.
So the four of them became really close. I'm talking now about Bunting, Wagner, Lane and Hayden. So we've got the four of them. None of them have gainful employment. So they would spend all day sitting around Bunting's house, slagging off in what they called in their terms gays and pedos, and they just were like really riling each other up. Can you imagine what that environment must have been? These four grown men just getting together every day.
Well, they did. They would just sit around the kitchen table and have these, sessions where they would speak this shit. Oh, it was gross.
Mark Hayden, just real quick, because we will get to this in next week's episode, but Mark Hayden wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed.
No, he was really low intelligence.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he actually did some really silly things. Most notably, though, he was the one who rented the bank in the old disused bank in Snowtown.
Yeah.
And he used his real name.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
He was not a sharp tool.
So his wife was Elizabeth Hayden.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Elizabeths in this story, so it's like
and not dissimilar surnames too. So it gets
Did you find it hard
confusing.
to keep track when you were eating?
I actually had to go back and forth. Hang on, wait. Yeah.
Which one's which again?
Which one's which? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I don't have as much on Mark Hayden, but I'm fairly certain that I don't know what his childhood is exactly. I don't know if you've got any more on that, but
no, I don't.
I mean, I can't imagine it being much better than the others in this story. As I said, the most I knew of him in terms of prior to this was his low intelligence, because there's a lot of stuff on him that's been suppressed in the court documents.
Yeah.
So it's a bit harder to find out information about him.
Yeah,
we'll get to why that is.
Well, we can get to why that is next week because there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
Next on my list, I've got Jamie Vlasakis.
Yeah, I'd want to hear your opinion on him in general.
I am. So if you watch the Snowtown movie that we were discussing earlier, he is sort of things. The movie really sort of focuses on things from his perspective.
Yeah,
and so, well, I'm really curious to see what you think too, because I'd actually already started my research into this before I watched the movie, and the movie did change my perspective a little bit.
Okay.
because I actually developed, and I think the movie wanted this, but I did develop a little more, I don't know if sympathy is the right word, but maybe more, I don't even know what the right word is, but it gave me more context for him and why he did the things he did.
Yeah.
And I know we've discussed the past of these other perpetrators as well, but Jamie Vlasakis was so young and he was so influenced and he had no hope in life. Like, it's like he was born predestined for this to be his life. And so I can't imagine how he could have gotten himself out of it. And the way he just further became, and again, this is like that cult shit we're talking about with Bunting. Vlasakis kind of had no choice but to go with it because otherwise he would have ended up in the barrel.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, let's just put into context who Jamie is.
Yep.
So his mother is named Elizabeth Harvey. Let's like clearly say there's Hayden that is
Elizabeth
married
Hayden,
to Mark Hayden. But then there is Elizabeth Harvey, who is not married to Mark Hayden.
No.
So, Elizabeth Harvey had a number of different partners and she had a number of children to different fathers.
Yep. She had 3 sons. Jamie Vlasakis was her second child.
Yep. Oh, no. Sorry. So there's, there's 3 boys she had to Vlasakis. But prior to that, she had Troy.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
To another father.
Yeah.
Then there's a stepbrother as well in the family who we'll get to as well.
Yep.
So there's a number of children that are linked to her within this story. And when Elizabeth Harvey met Bunting, so she lived in the same sort of street, basically. And what was happening was that her children, she had a partner at the time who was sexually assaulting her children. Barry Lane, living down the road, was watching this go on. And he, weirdly enough, decided to go to Elizabeth Harvey I think what happened was that he was like, oh, I want a piece of this action on these children. So he went in to tell Elizabeth Harvey, hey, do you know that your partner, he's sexually assaulting your children? Thought, as if like he's some sort of king of coming in and saving the day. But that basically made her go, oh, this is someone I can trust because he's telling me about what's going on with this other bloke. That allowed Barry Lane access to her children. So then Bunting and Wagner rock up on her doorstep to go, hey, Barry Lane is also doing this to your children. So then she's basically, because by this stage she's in a mental state of absolute wreck. Like she was legit actually having full-blown split personality situation stuff. Apparently she would get in a bath and just yell that her name was Laura and stuff like that. Like she was not in a good way at all. And look, to be in a situation where you're living in that kind of an environment and not knowing how to get your children to not be sexually assaulted by your neighbours, etc. Oh, I can't even. And she couldn't cope with all this. She was a drug user, all these sorts of things. Bunting and Wagner have rocked up to her house and sort of became these gurus to her of like saving the day, going, this is shit, these pedophiles all live in our neighbourhood. We need to rah, rah, rah. And so she really became glued to this situation. James being her son, living in under the same roof as all this talk happening, and he's very young. It was like, I think he was 13 at that point.
I think he was 12 when they met, but I think 13 by the time all of the discoveries in terms of the sexual assaults came to the fore.
Yeah. So he's young. He's already had a shit show of a childhood. His father, James's father, was very abusive, sexually assaulting him and his half-brother, Troy, and his other brother as well. I think at least one of his other brothers.
I thought it was both of them, but it might not be.
Yeah.
Well, no, they were all living in the house. So I think it was all of the boys.
So James's father, who was the father of the 3 boys, he could have been sexually assaulting definitely like all 3 of them, but also then a fourth being the older half brother, Troy.
Yeah, so his name was Troy Yude. So different father, same mother.
Yeah. So and then Troy then started to also sexually assault James. So it became this. That's what life was. It's absolutely awful.
Horrific.
He had, so up to the age of 12, 13 and meeting Bunting, James had already lived a horrific childhood. Yeah. I believe it already at 13, definitely 14, he was using heroin.
He was. It was at 13.
13,
he was starting to spiral into that sort of, that cycle of addiction.
Yep, which Bunting was so anti any drug use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Vlasakis's biological father died when Vlasakis was 10 years of age. Do you know how he died?
Yes.
How did he die?
So Vlasakis's father, he died of a heart attack on the kitchen floor right in front of James. He watched him die.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for any kid to, no matter what your father's done to you, there's an innate, natural thing where it's your father.
See that.
And to watch a person die in front of you would be, that is also traumatizing.
And I think the heart attack was born of just a whole cocktail of drugs.
Yeah.
That
I think he was
that his father
42.
on. Yeah, he was 42
when he died.
Yep. So, oh my God, it's just unfathomable what these poor boys have, the environment in which they've grown up.
Yes.
When Vlasakis, so when Jamie Vlasakis met Bunting was this, he didn't take drugs. He was, this upstanding man who'd come in to save the day, and he was basically making the people who'd assaulted Vlasakis and his mum made them pay for it. Like he was a real father-like figure, and I think Vlasakis really bonded with him very, very quickly, because it was the first time in his life that someone had stood up for him, and someone had, to Jamie's perspective, had actually wanted to do right by him.
Yes.
He was fighting the good fight on his behalf.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I think Vlasakis really worshipped Bunting.
Yep. I think it would have been so beyond confusing for him in that, knowing, because at 13, 14, he knows what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
But what's happened to him is so fucking wrong.
Wrong.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth Harvey and Bunting eventually started a relationship.
Yeah.
And Bunting actually just kicked his wife out one day. Apparently he just came home and he was like, I don't want you anymore. Like, you can just fuck off.
Yeah.
And look, where did she go? What happened to her? Like, seriously. But Elizabeth just moved straight in.
Yeah.
They moved in together.
Should also say Bunting has a number of children from different women that he has had no contact with, nothing at all, thankfully. But he, weirdly enough though, like you look at Jamie, who he literally treated him like a son.
Yes.
And he was his father figure. But yeah, what was his motivation for being a father figure to him but not to his own actual children? It has to be, to me, the manipulation he had and what he thought he could use Jamie for.
Absolutely, because I think, somewhere deep down, Bunting obviously knew that the things that he was doing wasn't right. He didn't want to get his own biological children involved in any of that mess. He's kind of like left them to the side.
I don't think he had any care for them whatsoever. I think it was a second thought.
But he's then indoctrinated this boy who is looking up to him like a dad.
Yeah.
And actually made him.
I think he just saw him as being going, right, he's a little protege.
Yeah.
Like, I'll create another one of me.
Yeah. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take on Vlasakis?
I feel really for him. And the thing is, in the same way, there's a level of me that feels for all these characters in this story.
Yeah.
And I'd say that because they have all led horrific childhoods.
Yeah.
And you can only, this is all an escalation. It was, as we said, this was always going to happen no matter where they lived. As in, whether it was Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Adelaide, that to me is just, you're going to find, Bunting was going to find his people to do this with no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
But these environments breed this, these behaviours.
I agree with that to a certain extent. There are also people who grew up in these environments who've never perpetrated it. Once you become an adult, you make choices and you make decisions. Yep. I understand that's informed by a lot of the time informed by your past. But it's a bit of a fork in the road type of a situation.
But who was stepping in with any of this to support any of them?
No one was.
No.
And as you've said as well, there were no social supports out there. No. It's not like there were, government agencies engaging with people in these communities.
No.
There was no help for them.
Where were the police at points? As in...
I agreed.
I just kind of go they weren't even known enough to police for them to kind of go, oh, this could be a Bunting thing.
Guys.
Because, let's just start with here. We'll get way more into this next week. But the fact is, they weren't on anyone's radar. There were 2 bodies that were found well before anyone was onto Bunting.
Oh, it was
and what was going years and years and years. Yep. So there was no connection of this. But, we talked about the fact that there was phone calls being made by Bunting. He escalated his behaviours to murder even.
Yep.
There was no cop rocking around going, we know it's you making these phone calls, mate.
Yep.
They were left to their own devices out in this community, to be honest, of almost to me, it was almost like this, go ahead, kill each other, whatever. We don't really care.
See how you go.
I think because,
good luck to yous.
Yeah. And then I just think when you get down to it and to the level of Jamie with how young he was and the stuff that he was exposed to, there was what the older people in this were exposed to. He was then, there was another escalation of what he was exposed to, Jamie, that I think that's where I step into the point of I feel way more for him than I do the others. But also the fact of that at 19, he was caught up, as in that's when he was convicted. To me, there's a chance of rehabilitation, whereas those that are 40 plus being convicted, I don't see any chance for them being rehabilitated.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that because I think the time in their lives when this happened is critical.
Yeah.
So as you said, Vlasakis was still a teenager when this was all happening. And he basically had no choice but to jump on this bandwagon.
Yeah.
Bunting created the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Bunting didn't have to start out this.
You're never going to save him.
No.
Nah.
But he didn't have to start this off. It's not like he'd been part of something like this, which then led him to create his own version of it.
Yeah.
But Vlasakis actually had no choice but to engage with this because otherwise I can guarantee he would have been another victim.
Yeah.
Had he stood up to this, he knew enough and they would have gotten rid of him too.
Yeah, 100%. He would definitely have been at some point. He would have been on their list. Yeah. But we can really get into that next week. Yeah.
I think this is probably a good place to leave it. Do you have anything else to add on this side of things?
No, I think I do. But a million things I'm trying to put pause on my brain to go, we'll shift that to next week. Yeah.
All right. All right, well, we will leave it there.
Yeah, cool.
So next week, tune in. Next week, it's definitely just getting into the crimes and the victims in particular and how that all fit together.
If you think we've said enough now, wait till next week.
Crazy.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much, Crime Besties. We will see you for part 2 of Snowtown next week.
Stay curious, Crime Besties.
Bye.
Bye.